Set, also known as Seth, Setesh, Setekh, and Sutekh. To this day, we honor ancient gods by calling celestial bodies with their names.
Their love feeds us.
For example, Jupiter is the Roman name for the Greek Zeus.
Release the Kraken!
Saturn for Kronos, Mars for Ares, etc. However, Set was viewed as such a destructive force that there is no mention of him in the stars. The Greeks often avoided directly naming dark gods. For example, Hades, the god of the underworld, was so feared that people didn't want to invoke him by saying his name. So instead of Hades, they used the Greek name Pluton, meaning the wealth, which the Romans then translated as Pluto, meaning that even Hades has a planet, but not Set. A dark force being so powerful or feared that people refuse to acknowledge it, or, more likely, they seek to erase it from history entirely. But why? The explanation may lie in his Roman name. Satan. It's important to mention that the god Set must not be mistaken for the biblical Seth, the son of Adam and Eve, that Sethian Gnosticism traces its origins to. These two Seths, though sharing a name, are opposing beings. Some scholars will therefore refer to the Egyptian god Set as Seth Typhon to distinguish him from this other Seth. Set was the desert god. He was a chaotic and despotic ruler who brought storms and drought and drove the people to turn on each other in their efforts to survive. He was once believed to have helped Ra defeat the dark serpent Apophis. Over time,
Tell me your name.
people began to see that the benevolent Set persona was a mere mask,
I've had many names.
and that this being was actually Apophis himself. Apophis was the dark serpent dwelling in the shadowed realms beneath the earth, also known as the embodiment of chaos, the abyss. The very being that sought to stop the sunrise, destroy all humanity, and bring chaos to reign forever. His evil was so foreign to Egypt that the Egyptians tried to erase him from history. They smashed all his statues, scratched his name off every monument, and killed his sacred animals. When Egypt was invaded during the 8th century BCE, Set was associated with the dark Greek god Typhon. For Greeks, Typhon was a titan who appeared as a giant with 100 serpents for his heads and legs. Typhon led the Titans to war against the Olympians, but Zeus overpowered him in battle and buried him alive beneath the earth, from where he now sends lava and volcanic eruptions. He was not widely worshipped, but he was rather worshipped against, much like the Egyptian Apophis. Here we can mention that Set was the son of the earth, or Geb, and the dark night sky, Nut. Typhon was the son of earth, or Gaia, and the dark abyss, Tartarus. And the Gnostic Demiurge, Yaldabaoth, was the son of Gaia Sophia and the dark abyss. Typhon was a fire-breathing dragon who had 100 heads that never slept. Yaldabaoth is often depicted as a lion-headed serpent or dragon-like figure. Typhon was known as the father of all monsters. He was married to Echidna, who was considered the mother of all monsters, and the pair of them produced a number of children. Yaldabaoth similarly was the father of all archons, and created a sufficient number of them to rule all the heavenly bodies: Jupiter, Io, Mars, Sabaoth, the Moon, Oreos, Venus, Astaphios, Mercury, Ilios, the Sun, Adonaios, as well as making sure to appoint one for each part of each human body. Once the Greeks associated Set with Typhon, they started to call people who worshipped Typhon Typhonians. This was a pejorative, hostile term, and Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans used it in the same way that Christians continue to use the term Satanist. However, since all mentions about Set were erased by the time the Greeks made this association, the Greeks were acting mainly based on the information about Set being Apophis, not based upon information about Set himself. It is not certain if these gods are the same being. After all, theology is not a science. But there is one good piece of advice in the New Testament which may help. Judge them by their fruits. So what fruit is this? Though this is not confirmed as a fact, the first thing Set did after he became ruler was introduce taxes.
What do you offer?
Dead people had to pay for their entry to the afterlife. Well, here is the one last thing we don't pay tax for. Yet, the Romans summed up the situation rather well. The citizens may worship at any shrine or temple that pleases their fancy. He may accept the cults of Egypt, favor the Magian religion of Persia, or pay homage to the Greek divinities. He may worship in all temples or in none. But regardless of the definitions of his faith, he must pay his taxes.
I have been awake since before the breaking of the first silence. I have had many names.